Hey, Kevin, welcome to the SABM podcast.
Hey, it's nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, man. Well, I know that we connected over LinkedIn a while back, and you had reached out and said that you're starting up a breathwork coaching business. I'm like, man, like that seems really valuable for folks. And we've never talked about breathwork here on the podcast, but I mean, as a lot of us played sports, kind of growing up or at the academy. A lot of us are high performers or leading companies, and like breathing is important. That's
Yep.
what, but
Yep.
that's what I play tennis now, and that's what the coach says. It's like make sure to breathe, while you're playing, right? And so
Mhm.
excited to have you on today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So maybe to start off by sharing, I guess, how did you get into breathwork coaching? Why did you just decide to go down this path?
Yeah, it was kind of it happened at a bachelor party in Zion National Park. Is where it happened back about a little over 2 years ago. A friend of mine who was a classmate of mine back at the academy, at the Air Force Academy, invited me to his, bachelor party, and he works in the space of like yoga and therapy and works with he's up in Oregon right now working with the couples, he and his wife. But anyways, he had worked with a gentleman in southern Utah and invited him to come out and lead a breathwork session and a cold plunge, kind of in the style of Wim Hof. And cut to 10 guys laying on the floor breathing, and I came out of that crying harder than I'd ever cried before. And I'm like, why in the world am I crying and
What?
feeling like this after just breathing for 30, 40 minutes? And so the funny
Wow.
part about that too is then, I didn't want anybody else to see me crying, and so I went and cried it out in the bedroom, and I come back, and around dinner we were all sharing stories, and I shared that, and they're all like, why, man? We were all crying. Like, why didn't you just stay there and sit with us? So I thought there's obviously something here that I've never even touched on, and so I just went hardcore, started nerding out with it, and at the time I was probably about 40 pounds heavier than I am now, and I was sleeping with a CPAP machine. I'd struggled with sleep apnea, and I'd come out of a divorce, so I was struggling with depression and was on antidepressants, and as I started to dig into it, different breathwork practices helped me get off my CPAP machine. So I don't sleep with that anymore. I'm about 40 pounds lighter now. And then I was able to get off antidepressants, but then I'm able to stay off of it thanks to other breathwork techniques that help me on a daily basis work with my anxiety and depression. So that's how I got into it.
Wow, pretty transformational. So why were you
Mhm.
crying? Like, was it the water that was too cold, or the ice, or from the cold plunge, or like
No, this was
what?
even before the ice. Yeah.
Yeah, what led to that? Like, kind of walk us through that.
Well, if you kind of, you've heard the books of like the body keeps the score and all sorts of different somatic therapies of how like, you feel these different kind of thing. I always kind of now kind of think of it in terms of like energy. So when you're able to help your nervous system relax and feel calm, then stuff that it's been hanging on to for a long time, sadness, anger, shame, whatever there may be, starts to just release. And so what I like to think happens was that a lot of stuff that surrounded like, the divorce of my parents at an early age, the rough divorce that I'd gone through, all these different points in my life that have kind of shaped me, I just never got the chance to really just release it, you know?
Hmm.
And so by taking yourself through a breathwork exercise, especially one in like say the style of like a Wim Hof or something like that, it really does stretch the nervous system from like the parasympathetic where you're really rested and relaxed to the sympathetic when you're about to go, run away from danger or go climb up a mountain. And so since I'd kind of done that to myself and gotten to this relaxed state, it literally was the image. I mean, this is going to sound kind of woo-woo, but this is what I felt. Was it literally felt like I kind of lifted up out of my body, flipped around, and just gave myself the biggest hug I'd had in years. And so, something that I kind of find helpful in breath work is it's a very pure exercise in self love. And I think a lot of men specifically, but anybody, struggle with that. And so it was a really simple way for me to love myself. And all I did was just breathe. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm somewhat familiar with Wim Hof. And do they combine, I guess, like cold water with breathing? Because I know like I've done cold plunges
Mhm,
before, and the first
mhm,
thing is that you have to catch your breath because you start breathing, like kind of rapidly, and then like once you
mhm.
kind of settle in and you catch your breath, then you're kind of okay. So yeah, I was just kind of curious. I'm not sure if that was kind of at least part of the process there, but I do know that like once you have your breath, it's like you're kind of in control um,
Mhm.
of the situations.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Wim Hof too is also not just breathing it, obviously, like you just touched on, it's cold.
Okay.
And that was the first method that I went off and actually got certified in. But right after that breathing session, then we went outside, got on the cold water, and it's the same thing. Is you sit there and you basically you're about to step into a stressful situation, but by tapping into your breath, and really the ironic thing about it is emphasizing not the inhale, but the exhale. So if you exhale more than you inhale, you're basically sending a message to your body like, it's okay, let's just relax, trust that everything's going to be okay. And you continue to focus on that, especially breathing in and out through your nose. Then as you get in the cold water, and the trick too is not just to like do a cannonball into the cold water and really shock your system. Just stepping in gradually is gonna shock your system. But what you're doing, and it was the weirdest thing too, as I sat into it, and this was the first time that I'd gotten it, and the water was probably about somewhere between like 35 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So
That's pretty cold.
cold. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And big blocks of ice, big chunks of ice and stuff floating. And it was in those big metal, like 100-gallon tanks that you see like on a farm and stuff. And as we get into it, then he just told me, and he was great. He was and the cool thing about this too, he was a Navy vet, and that's a whole nother story. It's like I find a lot of vets are really getting into this because looking for any which way to kind of just relieve the pain and work through some of the trauma and all that stuff. But the point being, he was a Navy vet. His name was Ryan. He said, just focus on this block of ice and focus on your exhale. So he's like, take a breath in and long exhales. And after like I really committed to that first exhale, it was funny. It was all of a sudden my brain says like, we can do this. This is totally fine. I mean, I was still kind of, like tight and all that stuff, but I was able to commit to it and sat in there for like 2 minutes and ended up being there for like 2.5 minutes. And it was just amazing to me again. Yes, one part I breathed, I cried like a little baby. Another part I breathed, and I was able to withstand, the coldest water I've ever been in. And it all, yeah, tied back to the breath.
Wow. And that kind of that process allowed your nervous system to relax enough to then release these like feelings and emotions and things that you had kind of stored down or that over the years or just kind of having gone
Mhm.
through these different challenges in your life, you were able to release that. And that's
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean, you kind of equate it to like if you look in nature, a nice one a lot of teachers that I've worked with like to say is if you look at a deer who ran away from like a mountain lion or something and it's safe, it sits there and shakes because now it knows like, hey, the threat's gone, but all this tense, all this stuff, I got to get it out of me. So it sits there and shakes because it feels safe. It's okay. It's the same sort of like concept, and that's something that's really fascinated me by sitting and studying with the breath. Is it helps me get out of my head and into my body. Like I think enough, I overthink enough. I think we all do. Like I just need to get back into kind of like my basic brain, my very simple brain, and just feel into myself. And when I do that, then moments like that happen. Mhm.
All right. Well, really interesting. So let's focus maybe on the breath work piece
Mhm.
and the breath work coaching because I don't,
Yeah.
and I'm curious to hear how you work with folks. And I don't imagine, I don't know if cold plunging is a part of it or that's something, but I would just say like maybe taking somebody if in the middle of their day, right? Or like, and they
Yeah.
hop on a call with you or like, how
Mhm.
do you work with people? Like, what is kind of like, I guess, like, how do you, yeah, how do you kind of engage with them? Like kind of like based on like, hey, they're in the middle of their day. Now they've
Mhm.
got a call with Kevin, at 2 p.m. right? They put their stuff down and and hop on a call with you, like how do you kind of take them from that place of where they are and then use
Mhm.
breath work to like kind of take them maybe to where they might want to go or what, achieve the goal that they might have, by working with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you kind of hit on where it starts is like, what's the goal that you have?
Okay.
Like, are you really hyper aroused and active? Like, we need to kind of down regulate, or do you not have enough energy? Need some help kind of boosting up. So, the perfect thing is to help somebody like in the morning, to help them kind of kick off the day. But to your example, you start to I kind of go with like some grounding breaths. So it's funny, you just take some deep breaths in, normally three, through the nose, fill up the belly, fill up the chest, fill up the head. I mean, visualizing that, and then you just kind of sigh it out. And we do that about three times. So then we kind of get grounded. And then usually, what I'd like to do is walk them through about two or three exercises. The first one is sort of a demonstration of like really what you're doing is you're balancing the O2 and the CO2 in your body. So one exercise is to breathe very light and then exhale very light. So minimum amount of air coming in and the minimum amount of air coming out, which seems kind of counterintuitive to what we're normally taught. But ironically, what you're doing is you're helping your body build up a tolerance to CO2. By
Hmm.
that happening, it starts to dilate the blood vessels and then help with the delivery of oxygen to your muscles. So it's not so much about deep breathing, the amount of oxygen in, it's about getting more oxygen to the muscles. So that's one I like to demonstrate. It's like it's very simple. It's something that you can do right after this call if you want to, and then take into your day. A second one I like to do, I call it the rebalancing breath. So all that is another one to kind of down regulate. A lot of them are really designed to help people down regulate because I think we have enough stuff getting us excited. We need to come down. So that one's another one. It's about seven inhales in the nose, out the mouth. On the seventh one, you hold it. You hold it for about 7 seconds, and then you exhale out through the nose. That one helps bring you down. You do that, repeat it about three times. And then the third one I like to do, I call it like Wim Hof Light. So what that one is for about a minute, minute and a half, you're going to take about 20, 25. So it's almost like hyperventilating. So in, out, out, real, like a lot of energy there, a lot of strong inhale, just letting it go. And then on the last one, you're going to take a deep inhale in, and then you're just going to let it all go. And you're not going to breathe back in. So you're going to hold on the bottom. So then you're going to sit
Hmm.
there for about 30 seconds, 45 seconds. If you feel the need to breathe, of course, do it. But I always like to push people say, hey, your brain's telling you do, but you can hang on for a couple more seconds. And then you take a deep inhale in, you hold it, and then you release it after about 15 seconds. And then we repeat that about two more times. And that's a great exercise to demonstrate to people that you're capable of more than what you think you are. You are
Hmm.
stronger than you are. And it's a real empowering kind of exercise. And then after that, so those three in, in that order usually, then you feel really kind of nice and blissed out, right? And so then, you kind of walk through a nice little, you have a little meditative period for about 5, 10 minutes. And then you just come back to the room and you sit there. If there's something you want to share, let's share. But what I love about it is it's teaching you that you walk around the world breathing all the time, and you're able to tap into your autonomic nervous system and actually regulate your nervous system by yourself. But then also too, men especially, but anybody, but I'm really kind of drawn with like men's groups and veterans, is the connection that you have, kind of like us right here, and having that connection and breathing together. Because I think it's also too something that I found to be a very big community builder. So, and that can be done, you're right, in the afternoon at 2 p.m. It's great to start out your day at like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, depending on when you wake up, or at night, especially like before you go into bed, learning how to breathe lighter, bring your body down so you can just slip into the covers and have a beautiful night's rest.
Yeah, so it sounds like with your coaching, you're equipping people to learn different breathing techniques to kind of help them through kind of different things that they might be going through, but then also like conversing with them or just kind of talking through actual issues that they might have, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, that's really cool. Really excited about that. And it sounds like you've had a lot of, different breakthroughs that you've experienced and achieved, through
Mhm.
this process. And man, I can just like just think of like, the nervous system, kind of how much better I feel like after I go and play tennis, and obviously that kind of forces you to breathe, and because you're exercising and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And then the cold plunge, I've been doing cold plunges, and how that helps you catch your breath, and like how much more relaxed my nervous system is after
Mhm.
those experiences. Um, and so, yeah, really cool, man. What would you say? So, like, are some of your goals with this breathwork coaching business? As you look out, maybe over the rest of this year, right? So we're kind of
Mhm.
we just started the next third quarter here of
Yep.
2025. So as we're finishing out the year, what are some of your most important goals, and then maybe like long term, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, like where would you like to take this?
Yeah, I've been trying to quantify it and stuff, and the number is like to teach 1 million men how to build a daily breathwork practice. But I feel like I want to get bigger than that. But that is like the predominant goal is to teach men how to build a daily breathwork practice so they can be better husbands, better partners, better fathers, better friends, better, stronger in their community. Because I feel like, um, you know, in order to be that person you want to be in the community, it starts at home and it purely just starts with yourself. Um, for the rest of the year, really, the goals are to continue to work with as many men as, on one-on-one coaching, but then also, I've got this idea and I probably roll out in the next week or two, but a group coaching. So basically the same thing as a one-on-one coaching, but you're in a cohort of about 5 to 10 guys,
Hmm.
and you're breathing together. And it's kind of like both a breathwork coaching, but it's also then like a men's group. And so, because also too, what I find is, well, just like my example at the beginning, you go through this exercise and you're really practicing this act of self-love, but then all these realizations come up. And if you're like me, you want to share it. You want to talk about it. You want to, because what I've noticed too is if a guy can share something, it gives another guy permission to share what he feels. And then
Hmm.
there's that community building and that connection. So yeah, trying to help as many men as possible learn how to build a daily breathwork practice and help them build that. And then two, of course, with that, work with as many men as possible, but then trying to work with even more, do it in a group setting. So those are the goals right now between now and the beginning of next year.
Yeah. And to your point about the group setting, certainly, one person sharing, something that's, um, personal, and, you
Mhm.
know, gives somebody else permission, but then it also forges bonds, right? Because now
Yep.
it's just like, hey, we're not sitting out here talking about, the last football game or that we watched on TV, or like what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
weather, or like just
Yeah.
superficial things, right? It's like, hey, like you're really in that group setting, deepening the bonds between, creating friendships, I think, between the folks
Mhm.
that you're helping.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. What are some of your biggest challenges right now? So for the folks listening, how can we help you move this forward?
Yeah, I think it's just spreading the word. It's funny, like, the majority of the community that I have online is within LinkedIn. So I've been working on there and connecting with a lot of folks, like, reconnecting with you. But then just getting out in the community. I think the other thing too is that idea of act locally, think globally. Having worked remotely for a long time, I've gotten so used to working to living online that it seems novel to just walk down the street and knock on a door and say, "Hey, how's it going?" Like the local YMCA or something like that. But it's just spreading the word, and right now, just getting it in front of as many people as possible, and then really kind of workshopping it and saying, all right, is this what connects with you? Or is this what resonates with you? Or is this what resonates with you? And then getting to that beautiful point where it then kind of builds its own momentum and it spreads through like word of mouth. So right now, yeah, I'm literally just, I've got a link to schedule an exploratory call for 30 minutes, see if it's something that's worth your time and it'd be helpful for you. Can walk you through like a simple exercise on there that you can just walk away with and use in your day to day. And if it works out well there, then of course we can go on with it with the coaching program. But yeah, literally grassroots, spread the word.
Yeah. And what's the best way for folks to reach out and get in touch and learn more about what you do?
Well, I mean, I've got kevinwraney.com, but the easiest way to do it is I've got a Calendly link, and then you can just schedule time directly in the calendar, and we can meet within a day of scheduling that. So I can share that with you.
All right, cool. Yeah, and we'll put your contact, your website information, and then also your LinkedIn profile, if that's okay. We'll share that in the
Yeah,
show notes, and
absolutely.
then if you want us to share your Calendly link, we can do that for you as well. So
Mhm.
people right after they listen can book a call.
Yep, that'd be perfect. Yeah, I mean, the easiest way is just to go to kevinwraney.com, and then the link will be in there. But I can, provide both of those. But yeah, just spread the word. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. One last question, I guess, is why do so I just kind of just had a personal story or whatever, but
Yeah.
my wife got me into tennis a few years ago, and um, and my dad lives in a neighborhood with somebody that played professional tennis, an Australian tennis player, played at the highest level, and like he was working with my dad, and he's worked with me, and like the first thing he says is like, remember to breathe. And so like, why do people forget to breathe? I guess like what, or you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, I guess in intense situations, and it's probably happened to everybody, right? Like maybe you're giving a
Mhm.
speech or you're up in front of a lot of people. And if you're
Mhm.
not breathing, it really creates a problem. And so,
Mhm.
I guess why do we forget to breathe is if, or what
No, it's
causes
a good.
that? And why, yeah. And I mean, you shared a lot of reasons of why it's so important. Uh,
Mhm.
and how that can help our game or how that can help us in stressful situations. But I'm curious is
Mhm.
like, you don't have to think to breathe. You just breathe. Like, what? But why do you stop yourself from breathing?
That's a good point. And honestly, you're the first person that's asked me that. But I think the immediate question that comes or answer that comes to mind is practice like you or play like you practice, right? Like practice like you're going to play. And so if you practice relaxed breathing to calm your nervous system down, then no matter what the day throws at you, you're gonna you're gonna be calm, you're gonna be relaxed. But a lot of times, if you think about it too, like getting in the cold water or getting in front of a stage, it's a fear response.
Yeah, you
It's
stop.
like
You
you
don't
stop, you're like,
breathe.
oh,
Yeah.
and so naturally it's this tense, I'm gonna protect, I'm gonna tighten up here, but then yeah, and then you're like, oh shoot, yeah, I gotta breathe too. So then it's your brain telling you to do something that you just do unconsciously, naturally. And
Mm.
so it is really kind it's funny. It's like it's a fear response, and it's the strangest way to protect yourself. I always thought like why are you trying to protect yourself by stopping doing something that you naturally have to do in order to live? But then to that point, by practicing techniques like getting in the cold water to learn how to like oddly calm yourself and get into a nice centered state or doing the breathing, then you're teaching yourself how to go through a stressful situation, but then calmly get through it and relax through it. So then when you get up on the stage or you get nervous again or something like that, it doesn't throw you off your rhythm. You're just naturally going to keep doing what you're doing because you've been relaxed throughout the day, focused on your breathing and stuff like that. But the funny thing about it, I think, is we don't look at breathing like we do with working out, right? Or going and like when you go to like warm, like just like with sleeping, what I learned was like in order to sleep properly, I have to breathe at night the way I've been breathing throughout the day. So if I've been hyperventilating and freaking out all day, I'm not going to go to bed in a relaxed state. But if I
Hmm.
can treat like I'm going to bed, like I'm warming up, like for tennis, you don't walk right out in the court and just start hitting balls and say, "All right, I'm ready to go." You warm up, you get your body going, you get you get into it. It takes you probably some time to warm up. It's the same thing with like going to sleep. Is like I'm going to take myself and calmly bring myself back into this relaxed state so that I can go in and relax. It's the same thing in a lot of other situations, but it's this treating breathing with the same reverence and respect and diligent, as we do like going to lift weights or going to train for a race or something like that. And so when you learn that you can actually influence an unconscious process, something that you automatically do, it creates a feeling of empowerment, like, oh, I am the creator of my own happiness and my own peace.
All right. I love it, man. That's good stuff. And I'm glad we ended there. And Kevin, man, congrats on gosh, all of your progress over the years, overcoming some different challenges and really creating this new business for yourself, as a way to help other people that might have gone through similar things that you've gone through. And now you've
Mhm.
got a strategy that's helped you, and now you want to help a million plus people, kind of
Thanks, man. Yeah.
overcome all the challenges that they're going through. I love those kinds of businesses. I think they're really
Yeah.
built from purpose, and
Mhm.
I'm excited to see where this goes. So, well, thanks for being a guest on today's podcast. And again, we'll for those interested in connecting with Kevin, check out the show notes where we've got his contact information, and you can set up a call or go to his website and learn more or connect with him on LinkedIn. And here's to an awesome finish to 2025.
Absolutely. Thank you.